Have you ever gotten a piece of software or a board game or a new toy and you got it, but when you open the box, there were no instructions for how to put it together or no instructions for how to play the game? Well, I've had that happen to me before, and I got to tell you, it's pretty frustrating when you want to build something out of Legos or you want to play this game, but you don't have the instructions. Today we're going to take a step back from programming to talk about documenting your classes or documenting your code. Because one of the most frustrating things is if someone gives you some code, but they haven't explained to you what that code actually does. And part of being a good programmer means working with other programmers and being a part of a larger programming community or being able to work with other people's code. And in order to do that, we have specific standards that are set up for writing instructions and writing comments that explain how your code works so that you can share it with other programmers. In this lesson, we're going to look at some of the specific ways that commenting is done in Java. You're going to look at things that are called Javadocs, which are special comments that you use to explain, to comment on your methods and your classes, and then you'll tag them so that you can actually generate documentation. Another way that this lesson is important is that on the AP exam, you're actually going to see this type of documentation come up, and being able to read it and then understand what that code is supposed to do is one of the skills that they're going to be evaluating on the exam. Comments in Java are lines of code that are not really code. They're text that will not get executed, will be completely ignored by the compiler when you run your program. So this begs the question, what are they used for? Comments are useful for two reasons. The first is that comments support other programmers when they come in and look at your code, or when they want to use your code and they want to know how it functions, or they want to access the methods or use the classes that you've written. The other function for comments is for yourself. For when you're writing code and when you're writing a program, once a program gets past a certain size, say, when it's really past more than one page, you're going to be going back and forth between different parts of the code. And you may find sometimes when you return to something you wrote a long time ago, it might take a minute for you to remember what exactly that code was supposed to do. That's where comments come in. Comments are going to help you jog your memory and help you quickly get back into wherever you were last time you were working on that program. So I always like to start with a quick story, which is that when I first started learning to program, I was sort of teaching myself Java programming, and I went to a study hall. There was a tutor there, and I had a bug in my code, and I opened up my code and I said, "Oh, can you help me with this program?" And I remember the tutor looked at my program and had to call the other tutors over because all of my code had been written without a single comment. And it was a pretty long program at this point, multiple pages of code, no comments, really not very good indentation or structuring. And the tutor was just appalled, honestly, at how I had just written all this code without commenting it. And he said, your first task is to go through this, and I know it's going to take a while, but it will be worth it in the end, and add comments to everything that you've done explaining to me why you wrote that line of code. And sure enough, by the time I was done adding those comments, I had found the bug and I had fixed my program and didn't even need the help of the tutor. So there are a couple different types of comments that you can add in Java. 2 slashes will give you a single line. This is a comment. It'll just make everything on that line a comment. And then there's the block comment. Block comment is basically going to allow you to put multiple lines, and to start a block comment you do a /* and then */ indicates the end of this block of comments. When you're working on writing comments, one of the most useful things you can comment is going to be the new methods, each method that you write. And so one of the things you're going to want to add to your methods is going to be preconditions and postcondition. Preconditions are assumptions that we make about the arguments or the parameters that are passed into a method. For example, if you have a method that does division, one of the preconditions is that the divisor you pass in is not 0. We can assume that the person using our code will not violate these preconditions. It's sort of like a fail-safe way of saying, look, I wrote this code, as long as you use it properly, it won't break, but if you don't follow these preconditions, there's a chance the code won't work properly or it will throw some kind of an error. The second thing you might want to add and is important to add with your methods is postconditions. Postconditions are going to tell the user what the return value of the method is basically going to hold after this code has been run. So for example, if the preconditions have been met, the value returned would be a correct division of the first parameter by the second parameter. So postconditions are kind of helpful in explaining how the code actually works and what value is going to be returned. So in Java, there are actually special comments you can use that are going to help you generate documentation. And so when you were looking at the Shapes API from Adhesive, the reason that that looked so standard and so well formatted is that all the comments on that code, the person who wrote that code added these special comments called Javadoc Comments. These are special types of comments with tags. See these little @ symbols that help Java generate automatic documentation. So you'll sometimes see this around a method where you'll see a block of comments, 2 stars indicate this is going to be a Javadoc comment. And then in here you have tags like @param. This says, okay, tag is going to be a parameter called tag. And then the description of it comes after. @return says, okay, this is going to be a return value. And this tells you the description of that. So one of the skills you're going to develop in this class is actually being able to read Java documentation and then write code based on that. So let's have a look at the Adhesive Shapes API again, and we'll go through that process.